This company secretly rules the world. Do you know what company secretly rules the world? Many would think it was Google or, of course, Facebook. The social media giant has an average of 2.9 billion users as of July 2022 alone. However, there is a company that is in the background with not so much public fanfare as Google and Facebook. One of these companies is Blackrock. Not so familiar with it, eh? Well, stay tuned because in this video we will talk more about this company and how it is ruling the world in secret. Within barely 30 years, Blackrock has become generally recognized as the firm that effectively dominates the world. It is currently in charge of managing assets worth around $10 trillion. How did a risk management corporation become the world's largest holder of assets, controlling the money of potentially millions of people? Well, let's start with learning the history of the firm. Blackrock Inc. is a global investment management firm that originated as an institutional asset manager focused on risk management and fixed income. Inc. founded the company in 1988, and it has since grown to have 70 locations in 30 countries. The corporation went under the name Blackrock for the first time in 1992. In the same year, the corporation managed $17 billion in assets, and by 1994, that figure had risen to $53 billion. So yeah, the company has grown that quickly. Since then, it has grown rapidly through mergers and acquisitions. Blackrock has been described as a phantom that has been haunting Wall Street for some years. It is greater than the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, which is often regarded as the world's largest bank. The company must have signed a deal with the devil since this firm turned a profit in just a few months. What's more, in just a couple of years after it was founded, the group's assets has more than quadrupled to $2.7 billion. BlackRock is a top 3 stakeholder in nearly every major oil company in the world, and it is a top 10 shareholder in 7 of the world's 10 largest coal producers. The critics are harsh, but BlackRock makes an effort to counter them. The company attempts to refute the heinous charges that they have been charged with, even going so far as to invest heavily in environmental preservation and sustainability, but it makes no difference how justified the criticism is. It will not stop this beast from growing. Although BlackRock is responsible for the management of billions of dollars in assets and manages around 10% of all financial assets globally, the company's impact extends well beyond just acquiring and holding stocks and bonds. BlackRock works with governments, financial ministries, and significant investors such as state pension funds and insurance corporations as a financial consulting organization. Furthermore, BlackRock leverages its considerable resources to make investments in firms all across the world. They are involved in practically every facet of the world's financial markets to some degree. BlackRock has major assets in companies on nearly every continent, as well as significant holdings in some of the top banks in the United States. They are also involved in every facet of the global mining sector, from automotive manufacturing in Germany to gold mining in Africa and iron ore mining in South America. So how exactly do they manage to do everything? Finance is a dynamic and ever-changing field. What could have been successful a few years ago is unlikely to be successful now. There is something that BlackRock is well aware of, and as a response, they built an extraordinarily robust software platform known as Aladdin to help them deal with the changing tides. This piece of software is almost ubiquitous. It has basically developed into the brains and nerves of some of the world's largest investment organizations at this time. The Aladdin network has 5,000 computers linked to it. The firm's everyday activity includes monitoring millions of deals and doing portfolio analysis for customers around the clock. Another task that Aladdin does for BlackRock is risk evaluations for its customers. It gathers sensitive information from major organizations such as banks and insurance companies and uses this information to produce high-stakes risk assessments for which consumers pay exorbitant fees to BlackRock. However, these are not just what Aladdin did for BlackRock. This software grants them access to sensitive data from major businesses throughout the world, such as banks, pension funds, and insurance corporations. Essentially, employing this software provides them with visibility over the management of assets totaling around $20 trillion. With access to such wealth and knowledge, Blackrock has positioned itself in a very comfortable position inside the global economic system, in addition to the stunning $10 trillion in assets that it already controls. Wow, they are indeed that powerful. You may even have no idea that they're using your information to continuously build their empire. How do you feel about this new knowledge so far? Do you find it invasive or simply smart? If you're enjoying watching this video about Blackrock, then go ahead and give it a thumbs up. You may also hit that subscribe button to watch more videos like this one. Speaking of the company that is secretly ruling the world, there are a lot more things that you may find interesting about this behemoth. Do you want to know more? Then go ahead and join us until the end of the video. Moving on, what you know about BlackRock's societal effect may not be enough. For one, Larry Fink, who was the driving force behind the construction of this giant, has the reputation as someone who has always wanted more than he has, and as someone who knows the markets through and out, is a formidable combination to say the least. Fink started his Wall Street career at the age of 23, working on bond structuring and trading. In less than a decade, he ascended up the ranks and became something of a legend, helping to build the market for debt securitization, which transformed how loans were handled on Wall Street for better or worse. Ironically, he would not become the founder of such a massively wealthy firm as BlackRock until he had cost his employers a large loss of $100 million. The meteoric rise to fame of Larry Fink is full of twists and turns. He was not only responsible for the invention of one of the most crucial tools that led to the economic collapse, but he was also the person hired by the US Treasury to clean it up. He would go on to make a name for himself as a true investment guru, and by the age of 31, he had become Boston's youngest managing director in the company's history. He was rejected and removed from the business where he had worked for the past 12 years, amassing an unbelievable amount of cash for the firm. Doesn't this seem like the perfect premise for a villain's backstory? There were certainly obstacles along the way, but one thing is certain: Larry Fink was able to get back on his feet. He eventually became a founding member of BlackRock. At this moment, his fortune reaches $1 billion. BlackRock is in charge of keeping bonds representing governmental debt. It is also in charge of a large number of people's retirement money and has enormous political power. BlackRock is regularly utilized as an advisor by whole countries. Central banks routinely request that BlackRock undertake management audits and offer advice to ordinary banks. When the institution that controls a whole nation's monetary system has your phone number stored on their speed dialer, you know you're in a league of your own. Because BlackRock is such a massive corporation, there are typically significant owners in the banks that central banks want them to audit and advise. And this adds a humorous twist to the scenario. This means that during these meetings, BlackRock is literally sitting on both sides of the table, advising the government on how to manage the banks that they already own. Because BlackRock owns a significant amount of Apple stock, they have access to the company's massive market dominance in the smartphone and tablet computer sectors. They also possess a stake in Microsoft, the other key competitor in the technology industry, showing everyone that to wield power in the technological industry, one does not need to have produced any microchips at all. BlackRock also owns a major stock stake in numerous pharmaceutical companies, including Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson, demonstrating that the firm understands how and where to concentrate its investments. And as we have stated, some of BlackRock's most significant holdings are in large oil companies such as ExxonMobil and Chevron, several of BlackRock's assets. In addition, BlackRock has made financial investments in a number of other notable undertakings. Their standing in ecologically responsible investing, as well as environmental, social, and corporate governance, has greatly improved. Simply said, they've spent a lot of money to become more ecologically responsible while simultaneously reaching a high degree of aesthetic satisfaction. In order to raise awareness of environmental and diversity problems, Blackrock has written letters to CEOs and invested in projects such as the Carbon Disclosure Project. These are two of the most advantageous and undoubtedly crucial tactics employed by Blackrock. It appears that Blackrock has been putting pressure on the U.S. government. It enacted legislation requiring private enterprises to publicly report their climate impact, poor diversity, and other requirements, while also providing financial support to companies who are not doing any of these things. At this point, you may have wondered which other companies may have been controlling the world without us knowing about it. Can you guess which companies they are? Let us know by leaving a comment down below. You may also share this video with a friend to watch it or join the discussion. Thanks for staying with us until this point, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.